Has the iPhone really become unhackable? This story and more on ThreatWire. Another supply chain attack has affected the NPM ecosystem, this time affecting over 150 packages, from a popular color manipulation package to a package from CrowdStrike. Many of the supply chain attacks I've seen while working on ThreatWire had the aim of stealing cryptocurrency. The one just discovered last week had that same goal. A package series with over 2.6 billion weekly downloads were attacked, but the attackers were only able to make less than $1,000 USD before their attempts were discovered. This new malware is being attributed to the same hackers behind another different software supply chain attack that happened in August. This new worm scans the host computer for credentials, exfiltrates the data through the creation of GitHub repos and GitHub actions, propagates and iterates to other packages. Yes, this software supply chain attack is a worm. The hackers did have a sense of adventure, as the GitHub repos created by the worm were named after Shai Hulud, after the worm from the Dooms franchise, which I've never seen, so I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. The malware establishes persistence by injecting a GitHub Actions workflow file via a base64 encoded bash script. This workflow triggers on-push events and exfiltrates repository secrets using the expression to JSON to a command and control endpoint. The malware creates branches by force merging from the default branch using GitHub's git/refs endpoint. The worm managed to affect several versions of packages as it automated its publishing by utilizing the package maintainer's npm publishing tokens and access. The versions of compromised packages are available online through several websites, including the Stop Security blog and the Socket Security blog, linked in the description. A huge treasure trove of data about the inner workings of the Great Firewall of China have been uncovered and is available now for researchers to download. 600 gigabytes of data was published by Enlace Hacktivista on September 11, 2025, and is being considered one of the most informative info dumps regarding the Great Firewall of China so far. The leak includes source code, documents, conversations, and, quote, raw operational data about the inner workings of the firewall. It traces the documents to the groups helping maintain and research the firewall, G-Edge Network, and the Mesa Lab at the Chinese Academy of Sciences Institute of Information Engineering. Researchers are still poring over the treasure trove of new information from this leak, but they have already found that the technology being used is already being applied to countries and utilized by governments outside of China, like Myanmar, Pakistan, Ethiopia, Kazakhstan, and others. Android users, as a heads up, your mobile security is in flux. Google has decided to make major changes to the way that Android security bulletins, or ASBs, are executed, but they won't acknowledge it yet. Up until this summer, the Android Security Bulletin was released at a monthly cadence and contained patches and information about all kinds of vulnerabilities affecting the Android ecosystem. But for those who keep up, you may have noticed that there were 0 vulnerabilities in the August 2025 release and only 6 vulnerabilities in the July 2025 release. This directly contrasts the 119 vulnerabilities published in the September 2025 release. This is because Google has quietly changed the way they're now building the ASB. Now, monthly ASBs will only contain vulnerabilities that Google deems high or critical risk, while all other vulnerabilities will be released on a quarterly schedule. From Android Authority, Google's solution to this problem is to change the security update process. The company is adopting a new release strategy it calls the risk-based update system, which is designed to improve the security patching process for OEMs without sacrificing user security. OEMs now get advance notice of the ability to update vulnerabilities and patches to allow them to handle them on a more controlled schedule. If an OEM does decide to release a patch for a vulnerability before Google does, they've been asked not to release details. Android Authority did reach out to a Google spokesperson about this update. However, the Google spokesperson refused to confirm this update as official. Android Authority does say that many familiar with the process confirm that this risk-based update system is going to be the new norm, and is now the new norm. Apple is known for its tight hand around its software and hardware ecosystem. This has allowed Apple to make security decisions that take into account both hardware and software advances, which directly contrasts the work of Android and its vast ecosystem of phones and operating systems. At the latest iPhone release event on September 9th, Apple has introduced their latest hardware and software security innovation called Memory Integrity Enforcement. TechCrunch had several conversations with security researchers who all akin this to the most hack-proof technology on the planet. This new Memory Integrity Enforcement, or MIE, is built on the idea of memory tagging extensions originally developed by the team at ARM chip makers. Memory tagging can be summarized as using keys to help programs know when they're attempting to reach out-of-bound memory and that it should not be allocated. The programs will then kill off the bad-acting attempts to access out-of-bound memory. Memory integrity enforcement is built on the robust foundation provided by our secure memory allocators, coupled with enhanced memory tagging extension, EMTE, in synchronous mode, and supported by extensive confidentiality enforcement policies, says Apple. Apple worked with ARM to evolve the technology of memory tagging extension into the EMTE technology. A key weakness of the original MTE specification is that access to non-tagged memory, such as global variables, is not checked by the hardware. This means attackers don't have to face as many defensive constraints when attempting to control core application configuration and state. With enhanced MTE, we instead specify that accessing non-tagged memory from a tagged memory region requires knowing that region's tag, making it significantly harder for attackers to turn out-of-bounds bugs in dynamic tagged memory into a way to sidestep EMTE by directly modifying non-tagged allocations. In the formal walkthrough of MIE, the research team at Apple points out how, in recent history, most of the extreme attacks on iPhones have been highly targeted, involving complex attack chains to infiltrate specific phones of specific individuals. In response, Apple had their security teams execute both theoretical and practical attacks on the new MIE to make sure that real-world exploitation chains utilized in recent history were stopped through this multi-layer protection system. Now, before the Google fanboys step in, yes, Google has offered memory tagging for a few Android devices, and Graphene OS offered it too. In contrast, the Google offering was opt-in. Apple MIE is on by default. This level of security from both a hardware and software side of technology is unprecedented. Thank you so much for watching ThreatWire for the week of September 15th, 2025. If you enjoyed this show, please head over to patreon.com/ThreatWire. In addition, happy 30th birthday to the movie Hackers. If you can this week, be sure to take some time to go and rewatch it to relive the glory of how amazing that movie is. I'm Allie Diamond, and if you want to find me online, you can find me everywhere at endingwithali. As per usual, good luck, have fun, and don't get caught.